The 2026 World Cup kicks off across the US, Canada, and Mexico, and it's going to be the biggest, loudest, and easily the most expensive sporting event in human history. We're talking 48 teams across 104 matches, millions of fans flying in from everywhere, completely ready to drop their life savings on flights, hotels, and jerseys. And if you try to look for a ticket right now on the resale market, the numbers look like absolute typos. Group stage matches are running for thousands. Standard tickets for the final at MetLife Stadium are listed on official platforms for over $11,000. And some premium luxury seats are soaring past 50 grand. So when you see prices like that, blaming inflation is the easy way out. And sure, gas prices are high and grocery bills make no sense at all, and that's pretty much the same everywhere in the world. Because the average fan isn't dropping thousands of dollars out of pure stupidity. This is more because FIFA has spent decades engineering a flawless emotional trap. And they have taken deep-seated identity, nostalgia, and blended them all into a machine and perfect formula, all designed to extract every single dollar from your pocket. So let's look at what's actually happening under the hood. Football or soccer, whatever you want to call it, has evolved into a massive empire a long time ago, and every empire needs people to fund it. And to understand why a stadium hot dog costs $18 and a nosebleed ticket costs a month's rent, you have to look at the cities hosting these matches, places like New York, LA, Toronto, and Mexico City. Because whenever a city bids to host the World Cup, politicians always pitch it the exact same way. They get behind a podium, flash a big smile, and promise an economic boom. They talk about billions in tourism revenue, thousands of local jobs, and global prestige, and it sounds like a win-win for the people and the city. But of course, it's a complete illusion. In economics, there is this concept called host dilemma. You see, when FIFA chooses a city, they don't show up with a big giant check to help pay for everything. Instead, they hand over a 400-page book of demands. They require state-of-the-art stadiums, specific seating capacities, ultra-luxury VIP suites, massive media centers, and elite security forces. And the local taxpayers like you and I are left holding the bill. So for this tournament, host cities are collectively spending billions, upgrading NFL stadiums and building new facilities just to meet FIFA's exact specifications. And now you'd think, okay, sure, it's expensive to build, but think of all the money the city makes back from tickets and sponsors. Except they don't. This is where the system gets really brutal. FIFA keeps 100% of all the revenue from ticket sales. They keep 100% of the TV broadcasting rights, and they keep all of the stadium marketing and corporate sponsorships from brands like Adidas or Coca-Cola. And to top it all off, FIFA demands and gets total tax exemption from the host governments. Every single dollar of profit FIFA makes over the next month is entirely tax-free. So what do the host cities actually get? What do you get as a fan? They get the local sales tax on the hotel rooms, some restaurant bills, and whatever transit fees tourists pay, and that's it. Decades of economic research show that hosting a World Cup almost never makes a net positive return for the public. It just leaves local governments deeply in debt, because these cities are running massive deficits just to clear the field for FIFA, and then they are forced to squeeze the fans to recoup their losses. And that means local hotels aggressively hike up their prices by 300 or even 500% for match weeks, and stadium operators jack up parking fees, and the baseline cost of just existing near a World Cup match ends up artificially inflated because the local economy is trying to survive an economic extraction event. But all this debt of the host cities is just half the battle. The real financial damage is happening to you the second you click buy tickets. Because for this tournament, FIFA didn't just stick to traditional flat rate pricing. They introduced something new. They fully embraced the dark side of live entertainment tech, otherwise known as dynamic pricing. If you've tried to buy a concert ticket recently, you already know how this whole nightmare works. But with dynamic pricing, FIFA uses highly sophisticated algorithms that monitor search traffic, clicks, and checkout queues all in real time. A ticket that started at a semi-reasonable baseline of $250 is automatically repriced by a computer to $1,200 or even $2,000. Really what it's doing is that it's exploiting FOMO, the fear of missing out, Now let's say you miss out on that initial sale, or you realize that you can't afford to go. Well, you have to use FIFA's official resale platform. In the past, FIFA had incredibly strict rules about this. To protect fans from exploitation, you were only allowed to resell your tickets through the official portal at face value. If you paid 150, you sold it for 150. It was a great system designed to completely destroy the financial incentive for scalping. But for 2026, that rule is no longer there. It's non-existent. FIFA has removed the face value cap on their resale platforms, and instead, sellers can now list their tickets for whatever astronomical price that they think they can get. And you have to think, why would an organization that claims to protect the game openly allow price gouging on its own platforms? And it all comes down to the double dip rake. Because every single time a ticket is resold on the official platform, FIFA takes a massive percentage cut from the transaction, and they take it from both sides. If a scalper buys a high demand ticket for $200 and lists it on a resale platform for $1,000, FIFA charges the buyer a 15% platform fee on top of that, and then FIFA takes a 15% seller fee out of the final payout to the scalper. So when that single ticket changes hands, FIFA pockets a total 30% rake on the markup, and they make hundreds of dollars in pure, effortless profit on a ticket they already sold once before. FIFA doesn't want to ban scalpers. They have a massive financial incentive to actually encourage high price scalping because their platform profits directly from how expensive the ticket becomes. So why do people buy anyways? So why are millions of people willingly signing up to be financially exploited? And to answer that, it's more about psychology. FIFA knows they're selling you a feeling that is almost impossible to find anywhere else, and that is belonging and nostalgia. Think about what everyday life feels like right now for a lot of people. Rent eats up half the average paycheck, wages are flat, groceries are expensive, and on top of the economic pressure, we spend our lives staring at screens and dealing with historical levels of loneliness. And then once every 4 years, the World Cup arrives, and suddenly, for just 1 month, your loneliness disappears. You become part of a massive tribe. You wear the jersey your parents wore. You stand with thousands of other strangers in a public square, singing songs and crying tears of joy over a ball hitting a net. And the World Cup connects you to a version of yourself that stood in front of a television when you were 10 years old, before you were an adult and before you had any form of responsibilities. And that is the most powerful commercial force on earth. And FIFA wants this to happen. They know that a fan who views their product as an essential piece of their identity is a consumer who will eventually pay whatever price is demanded. And the thing is, all the financial damage is very real. The maxed out credit cards, the drained emergency funds, the travel budgets, all of it. It all affects you in life. And to be clear, I'm not telling you you need to completely boycott the world's most beloved sport, but what I am trying to say is that you can still experience the magic of FIFA without bankrupting your life. So do consider embracing the local fan zones. FIFA and host cities spend millions creating official fan fests and public viewing areas. And they have massive screens, live music, and incredible crowds. And honestly, this atmosphere in a public square usually blows away the experience in a corporate stadium filled with tech executives and VIP tourists. And most fan zones are completely free to enter. And if you really must go to a game, do consider maybe skipping the premium matches, because everyone wants to see the knockout rounds of the top tier nations. You can watch two smaller, passionate, footballing nations battling it out at a fraction of the cost. And finally, host your own watch parties. It's the human experience. So organize something with your friends and family, grill food, wear the colors, and create that environment of connection in your own living room or backyard. And just remember, FIFA doesn't care about you. They just want your money. Because at the end of the day, we have to see the World Cup for what it is, and that is capitalism, consumerism, and some high-tech algorithm that preys on your nostalgia. FIFA is going to make billions over the next month regardless of what you do. And their whole job is to make you feel like you need to empty your wallet just to be a part of history. And your job as a hardworking person in life is to keep your money and protect your money, and to remember that the game belongs to the fans and not to the executives sitting in a luxury suite in Zurich. and that you don't need a VIP pass or a $11,000 ticket to be a real fan. And all you really need is a screen and a community to share it with. So let me know what you think about what's going on here and the economics of the World Cup and the rise of dynamic pricing in the comments below. And if you like videos like this blend of consumerism, personal finance, and pop culture, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos. Thank you very much for watching. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and check out my last video on why Disney adults are going bankrupt. It explores the exact same psychological and financial mechanics we covered today. It's how a corporation is taking advantage of your nostalgia, all very much for the hard-earned money in your pocket. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.